Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Jenny Montgomery. We begin today with a subject that is really important for women because all of us are at risk for gynecologic cancers, and that risk increases with age. When gynecologic cancers are found early, treatment is most effective. When we say gynecologic cancers, we're talking about cervical cancer, ovarian, uterine, vaginal, and vulvar cancers. Each one is unique with different signs and symptoms, different risk factors, and different prevention strategies. Most cervical cancers are caused by a virus, but it is preventable. One way is by having yearly pap smears, the other by using an effective vaccine. Pap smear screening can catch precancerous changes. Vaccines are highly effective in preventing persistent infections with HPV types.
And I see cervical cancer sometimes not in early stage, but in advanced stage, in stage 4, with people who come with disease outside the pelvis and involving their bowel or lungs. And that's a tragedy because it truly is a preventable disease. It should not happen in this day and age. Every hour there's a woman in the United States who gets diagnosed with cervical cancer, and every 2 hours a woman dies of cervical cancer.
Dr. Sharad Ghamandi is the chief of the section of gynecologic oncology at the Medical College of Georgia at Augusta University, and we're so pleased to have you with us today. Thank you for your time.
It's my privilege. Thank you.
You have a lot going on over at AU, and I think that for the women watching, I really want you to talk about what you said there about how, you know, every two hours somebody's diagnosed, or every hour. How is so much of this happening in this day and age?
That's a great question. It's kind of sad because if you look at worldwide, we have about 500,000, 500,000 women diagnosed with cervical cancer every year, and about close to 280,000 die of cervical cancer every year. And at any given time, there are about almost 2.5 million women who are dealing with cervical cancer at any given time. Problem with most of these countries is they don't really have a good screening program. Luckily for us in the United States, over the years, with the pap smear screening program and now with HPV testing, we have decreased those numbers quite a bit. We still have annually about 12 to 13,000 women who have cervical cancer, which is invasive, and still about 4,000 women still die of cervical cancer. If it's caught early, as you know, with any cancer, women tend to do well, but if it's caught late, it becomes a problem. And especially in our state, because as you know, I work with the medical school and at Augusta University, and we get patients from all across South Georgia.
And that's a problem in those rural areas, isn't it?
It
getting
is.
Getting care.
Really, absolutely. It's a twofold story, I think, because when we see them, it's like I was working in somewhere in a third world country like India, Peru, or Zimbabwe, where we see patients in advanced cancer. That's what I see sometimes, unfortunately, in Augusta. And it's not because patients don't have insurance. It's just that I think we have a culture, especially in some parts of Georgia, that you do not see a physician unless there's a problem. We don't do the preventative piece as well as we should, honestly.
Okay, and so that's where parents can come in and really emphasize to their kids, you know, we want our kids to live long and healthy lives. Yes. And one way that we can do that now through medicine is with the vaccines like Gardasil.
Absolutely. It's amazing. I mean, when I was in medical school, if somebody would have told me that there was going to be a vaccine that would prevent cancer, I would not have believed it. But over the last few years, there's been an explosion of not one, but two, but three different good vaccines, which are incredibly safe, very effective. In fact, if you compare as kids when we get vaccinated with BCG, or not BCG, but polio or measles or whatever we take as kids, and if you compare with any vaccine that we have taken, the efficacy and safety of these vaccines for prevention of cervical cancer is stunning. It is. Wow, so there's no reason why young people from ages 11 to 26 especially, although that's not necessarily the only age group that can get the vaccine, should be vaccinated because it's preventable now.
You're saying young people, you mean girls and boys?
Girls and boys. It's interesting, especially in the United States at this point of time, it's also available for boys, especially Gardasil. But in Europe, it's not the same story. They do vaccinate girls, not boys as much. Some of it is more cost related, but yes, it goes in boys.
Now you have a trial going on right now that is very exciting, unique to Augusta University.
Yes, we do. So when we talk about vaccines, we're talking of preventative vaccines, but we are also using immunotherapy to actually treat cervical cancer. So we just finished a phase 1 trial, which is a very early stage trial looking at a very unique combination. So we have Listeria monocytosis, which is a common bug. If you get listeriosis, especially in places like New Mexico, it's not unreasonable to get that, or not uncommon. And we pair it with a HPV-16, which is the commonest cause for cervical cancer.
And you're talking about human papillomavirus.
Human papillomavirus, and it has something called as E7, which is a cancer-causing antigen. So that is fused to it, and that is vaccinated in patients who have cancer. And it then goes and does two things. It gets your own immune system to get upregulated, so it has T cells which then recognize the cancer cells which have the HPV on it, and then they go and destroy it. And the back end, just having cells which can destroy it sometimes doesn't work, because in the surrounding or environment you can have other regulators which prevent that from happening. And the Listeria actually acts as a wonderful vehicle to downregulate those surrounding cells which can prevent this successful attack by the T cells.
That's fascinating.
So it's really, really cool.
And when you say the immunotherapy, is it mainly for people who haven't done well with chemo?
Correct. So this trial was in patients who've had the original treatment, the cancer came back, have failed chemotherapy, and really realistically do not have options. So we looked at dose escalation, looking at the safety of this drug. We had one patient who actually did really well long term. But then that was also in parallel. There's a phase 2 trial through the gynecological oncology group, which has also shown a lot of success and was presented in Washington, D.C. recently for an annual meeting. And they showed that we doubled the amount of women at the end of 1 year in this really poor category of patients who were still alive and doing well. So now that's actually translated to a huge international trial where we are looking at women with cervical cancer who are at very high risk for the cancer to come back, which is either advanced stage or early stage where the cancer is already spread to lymph nodes. So in those patients, when they finish their standard treatment of radiation and chemotherapy, they go on a consolidation with this vaccine. It's a placebo-controlled randomized trial for up to a year to prevent their cancer from coming back when many of them are destined to have their cancer recur. So it's a really, really cool trial that from little small baby steps is all of a sudden with immunotherapy going across the globe for a prevention trial.
That is so exciting.
And that trial would be open at, is open now at Augusta University.
Now they are wrapping me, we have to hurry. But you have a really neat fellowship program right now with a lot of people trying to get in for one position.
We do. We're very happy. We've been working on it for a while, and obviously the institutional support was a big thing here. But we are one of the only fellowships in gynecological oncology in the state of Georgia and 3 of the neighboring states. It's wonderful because as a state we are underserved, and to have the ability to train GYN oncologists and hopefully retain them in the state is actually paramount to hopefully increasing outcomes, improving outcomes. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Still ahead on Jennie, a collection of stories written by mothers. I Heart Mom, next.